This is going to be more personal than the videos I normally do on here. But this is a project I've been wanting to do for a while. And I figured that now is the right time to do it. Seán McGarrett is Anam Dum, and I've been living with Asperger syndrome all my life. This is my story. If there's anyone watching this that has Asperger syndrome, if there's anyone out there who's feeling down or unsure about living with it, I sincerely hope that this video will provide reassurance of some kind. I hope that any parent with any concern about it will gain some valuable insight on what I have to say about it, namely what I've learned from it and what I've done with it. This video isn't just aimed at the Aspie demographic. This is something that I consider to be for everyone. Something to give anyone who's unfamiliar with the subject matter a greater understanding and what can be learned from it. As described by Google, Asperger syndrome is an autism spectrum disorder, one of a distinct group of complex neural development disorders characterized by social impairment, communication difficulties, and restrictive, repetitive, and stereotyped patterns of behavior. Some traits that are associated with Asperger syndrome includes an inability to discuss social or emotional issues, a tendency to talk about him or herself instead of others, a lack of empathy, awkward movements or mannerisms, and a sharp focus towards his or her area of expertise, just to name a few. I asked my parents a very important question regarding this subject not too long ago. I just said, "Mom, Dad, when was it? When did you figure out that I had Asperger syndrome?" And the answer that I got was when I was about 1.5 to 2 years old. They were explaining to me that I had some delays in my language development and that it wasn't quite progressing at the normal rate of others. Now, the first time I figured out that I had Asperger syndrome was when I started secondary school. It was definitely in that first year, second year period where I was really entering that teen phase and the changes and discoveries were happening and all that. But obviously the biggest discovery that I made at that time was the fact that I had Asperger syndrome. And I remember that one particular evening where my mother and I were talking about it for the very first time, and she was just explaining to me, what it was and the fact that I just had it. And she also mentioned to me that there were famous people that had it as well, and the two names that I vividly remember her mentioning were Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. After that conversation, my eyes were more open to who I was. I always kind of said to myself, you know what? That might explain some of the strange behaviour that I inhabited in primary school. Nothing bizarre but still peculiar. Looking back, I just remember a lot of the negative aspects. Like the traits of Asperger's that I mentioned earlier on were much more present at that time. Now, obviously, when you're just a kid at that age, you can't really control it. I definitely have a couple of fond memories of primary school, but not as much as me at the time, for lack of a better way of putting it. The transition into secondary school. I was terrified. I was genuinely scared out of my mind. So scared that I ended up repeating 6th class. But thankfully, when I did start secondary school, some of my friends who I used to be in the same class as, they just greeted me with a very, very warm welcome, and admittedly, I settled in a lot faster than I thought I would. But that was the time I started to enter that teen phase. Like, changes were just happening, as they naturally do. I was starting to feel less like I was in primary school because I started to become more aware, more self-conscious of everything around me. People, mainly. Now guys, before I go ahead and just celebrate the strengths of being an Aspie, I must first address the obstacles that I've had to overcome to get to where I am now. That way you'll have more of a complete sense of who I am and what can be learned from all this. This is reality after all, guys, and I just think that it's fair that I give you the negatives first, then try and make you smile with the positives. One of the biggest difficulties that Aspies in general have to face is just being socially interactive. And this was something that I just didn't have at first. Like at the time, I was just really timid. Had my moments of humour, but I wasn't in a humorous state. Like, I was just doing my absolute best to stay out of any kind of trouble. But there was only so much trouble I could avoid because something bad did eventually happen to me. The loneliness happened. This was unquestionably the darkest time of my life. I was developing such a strict interest in acting, movies and singing, and I was just becoming so energetic and passionate about it. And I'd been doing it for a while too. And then I just look at everyone else around me and I just did not feel much of that same connection. Now, I made some great friends, but something was just eating me up from the inside back then. And I had a lot of trouble trying to socialise because my interests were so clear and important to me, and as my sense of people and surroundings grew to such a sharp degree, I just walk around to a couple of different groups in my year at the lunchtimes and I'd listen to what they're talking about, and then I said to myself, you know what, Shawnee, the topic of performing and entertaining, it's best left avoided. I did not want to cause any awkward moments or any kind of strange tension with anyone around me, because guys, you see, if I went off on a 5-minute tangent in reality about what I love and what I want to do, and no one around me gives a crap about what I'm talking about, then I would get a feeling in my head instantly that I just alienated everyone around me. I never wanted that. All of this, for lack of a better word, led up to a psychological inner battle. You see, folks, in my mind, there are two big voices. There's the optimistic guy, then there's the defeatist guy. It was very intense back then because the defeatist guy had a lot to say, more or less highlighting my inability to socialise in an ugly manner. Trust me, folks, I was being brutal on myself back then. I can be quite hard on myself from time to time still, but for necessary reasons. But it's nowhere near as frequent now as it was back then. Adam Harris once wrote that having Aspergers was like living in a world that wasn't built for you. There was some truth to that. If I am being honest, guys, these are problems that still stick with me to this day. I just have my own methods of keeping them under control. I have felt a small bit of that loneliness again lately, but thankfully I have ways of keeping myself occupied. I started this YouTube channel back in December of 2010, and my movie reviews started to grow in popularity in school. And you know what? It felt good. It felt good that my social circle was starting to grow. But things got even better. In third year, I did my junior cert, got excellent results, and my school bestowed to me the Gradam and Fearsick Award, which is basically the best Irish junior speaker. Sin brunna in a Willem Fosbro Doulas. This was the year that my confidence just started to rise to the next level. Not only had I made a slew of new allies, but I was proud of myself for making more of an effort socially. Think of it as a character arc, folks. With all the good that I was doing for myself and for others, I was making some significant steps to leaving those dark times behind me. The teachers, the students, they're all my friends. They recognised my efforts and they smiled. From then on, the last 3 years have been something else for me. I recently rewatched the 3rd season of Arrow, which is my favourite TV show right now. Season 3 heavily dealt with the theme of identity. The characters were trying to figure out their real mission and their true purpose to helping Starling City. That's what the last few years have been like for me. Just exploring that purpose. In my case, I always knew what I wanted to do. anything associated with performing or storytelling in the visual medium, and you can consider me a very happy camper. Guys, with this video, I never planned on delving into the psychology of Asperger's, and while I have addressed and explained the negative aspects, it's the positives that need to take center stage. It's just vital for you to know that there are just as many things that I can't do. I know my limits, I am not an expert in everything. Standards and general dislikes are something that I also value. As do ye. I just needed to figure out who I would eventually become, using the talents that I had to entertain people. Bit cliche to say this, but oh, I like it, to make a difference. As of now, I have so many fond memories of doing what I love doing. Performing with my brother at any talent singing showcase held in school. In transition year, when my Round Ashling classmates and I put together a 16-minute all-Irish short film based on bullying. Taking it to a Youth for Justice convention and all. Man, that was such a good experience. I need to get that film back and re-upload it. Getting one of the lead roles in the 4th year Kyo drama. 5 leading roles in 5 Easter pantomimes that I've done with my drama school. Oh, playing Captain Hook in Peter Pan last year. Still an experience that I fondly remark on so much to this day. Not just because I had a ball playing that character, but the cast I worked with. There's really no other way to put this, guys. They felt like extended family to me. Busking in Dingle last summer, attending these wonderful open mic evening sessions there as well. Everything that I've done on this channel. Oh man, the list goes on. In my senior secondary years, I managed to get 3 nominations in a row for Scoscalar and Ablena. Asperger is Student of the Year. They did this for all the year groups. As you could imagine, I was honoured when my name came up all those times. And I was actually very happy to have won it for the first time in 5th year. The evidence still remains. 4th year, great year for me. 5th year, tough, but I gave it a good shot. 6th year. My God, what a year that was. And when I say that, I actually mean that in a surprisingly very good way. I did sideline a couple of important things to me in those 10 months, pulling way back on the YouTube videos, as in 1 video every 2 months, staying away from going for another Easter panto lead role or anything big like that. I was directing the focus towards doing well in the Leaving Cert, because everyone kept talking about it and that its importance could not be stressed any more than it was. I recognised this, and I did it. There were times that I struggled, guys. In fact, there were times where I did struggle between my schoolwork and my YouTube channel and social life. And that's one other detriment that befell me anyway. But this past year, something else. Coláiste an Fiorsaigh, my secondary school, which I still cannot believe that I'm a past pupil there now, gave me golden opportunities, and they continued as I was doing the Leaving Cert. I've started to develop a newfound taste for songwriting, especially after the All-Irish Singing Competition Sclape, where I wrote my first original song, Asque agus Gachrod, and it's up on the channel if you all want to see it. And I also developed a newfound taste for poetry writing as well. I just became more positive about things this past year, namely what the people at the school, teachers and students alike, had done for me. I wanted to end my final year with a bang, to be someone that the younger students looked up to encourage and to inspire them with all my embrace, theatricality and dedication to being a good person. Simply put, I became the person that I wanted to be. If I was the kid that I was now 5 or 6 years ago, the outcome would have been different. But it wasn't. I made more crucial friends. Love this picture with the 4th years in particular. Such good people. I had a couple of students telling me that I've been an inspiration, that the school wasn't going to be the same without me next year. To all the people that said or thought anything like that, just know that tá an tá ar an pobal scoile go bhfuil siobhan. And I will also have this fáinne or Honest nach dhéanam darúd. And I'll be paying a couple of visits, guys, don't you worry. One very recent fond experience from 6th year for me was presenting Ceol Corman Taurig. It was a big first year concert really, and performing my latest original song with the first year music class, As Gaeilge, utterly surreal in the best way imaginable. And as you saw right there, I did edit the recording and it'll be up for y'all to see soon. The parents and teachers alike that attended said that I did an amazing job presenting and all. There were some parents that came up to me even curious enough to ask, what I was going to do next. Oh my god, such a sensational feeling of achievement, guys. This is what I'm talking about. The glorious quality of being an Aspie is that acute, excelled thought process we have towards our preferred areas of interest. For me, it's just being an entertainer and, well, being good to others as much as I can. My social life has vastly improved. I feel more confident around others than I ever did before. My observational skills are much better. I have my awkward moments, tongue slips mostly, and sometimes my peach spattering and sometimes my speech patterns can slightly vary. I actually used to imitate voices of characters from old PC games that I used to play. Oh my god. Just a funny story that my parents told me about. But those are some of the traits that I mentioned earlier on. But folks, after my completion of secondary school and after all the experiences I had, learning new social skills, caring about others and understanding them more, how to make friends in my own theatrical way, and going to drama for 6 years has also helped immensely, and I could not be any more grateful to the Wolf Stage School for bringing me out of my shell. Reaching out to so many people with my passion helped me to leave behind the socially empty void. Aspergers is something that I would be lost without. And I am proud to be an Aspie. It is not a disability. It's an ability to make a difference. To take what I want to do for the rest of my life and to share it with others in a way that makes them happy to be living in what can be a cold and cruel reality. Asperger's is not something to be cured or gotten rid of. It's an essential part to who I am, and I would not have it any other way. Robin Williams, Thomas Edison, Alan Turing, Albert Einstein, Michelangelo, Ludwig van Beethoven, Nikola Tesla, Alfred Hitchcock, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. These are but some of the famous individuals that have Asperger's syndrome. Rest in peace to the aforementioned individuals. What do these individuals have in common though? They made a difference with what they could do with their Asperger's. For example, without Alan Turing, we wouldn't have computers. My mother always told me that anyone who has Asperger's has a gift inside of them. And she's right. I'm relaying this message to everyone because it is something that I want more people to take notice of. It's not easy to tell when someone has it. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean that it's not there. If there is someone who's not coping well with it, my advice, at least try and find a way to help that person. I am where I am today because of the loyal support of my family and my friends. That recognition and acceptance is something that I have wanted ever since those darker times. And you guys gave that to me. And for that, I cannot thank you enough. It's because of the people that I know and love that I am what I am today. Which is, compared to how it used to be, something better. I also have this yearbook, all these signings by my many trusted allies. It's something that I will treasure. And we were allowed to put in quotes as well. And after everything I've learned, this is mine. Admittedly, I did lift this directly from the first episode of season 1 of The Flash, but I just couldn't resist. It was so perfect. The good we do will far outweigh the bad. That's one of my other messages to you guys. Also, I highly recommend The Flash for everyone, and Arrow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching this video. If there's any question that you need to ask me, please, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm always open about my Aspergers, so fire away if you feel the need to. And if there's anyone that has Aspergers that feels like sharing their experience, please, you're more than welcome to do so. I sincerely hope that you all learned something from this. Be good to the people around you. Find what it is you have a special love for. Then take that interest and share that love for it with everyone. My new journey has just begun, and I still plan on making a difference. And so can ye. Mar uckle skur, turigi aradach hela, agus kieg me shiv, nur hieg me shiv.